All right. For the first question, what do you think are the Philippines' issues related to energy? What do you think needs to be done? Based from my experience as part of First Gen's marketing and regulatory teams, I see two main issues. First, I think there is an issue in terms of the stability of our institutions such as ERC, Department of Energy, and for example, the Supreme Court. For example, the limbo as a result of the suspension and recently unsuspension of ERC commissioners puts energy players into confusion as whether, for example, power supply agreements will continue or not. And this represents opportunity cost to consumers since it prevents consumers from enjoying lower rates. It also prevents supply from coming in since new power generating plants need their regulatory approvals before commissioning. One example also is the Supreme Court decision on ARCOA or open access, which temporarily puts it into restraining order, preventing large companies and eventually to households to enjoy more competitive rates from generating companies. I think one solution that can be applied here is more transparency implemented when distribution utilities look for power generation since these sweetheart deals constitute as main causes of issues in our regulating bodies. Other than this, consumer groups must also pressure the Supreme Court, including our executive agencies such as DOE and ERC, to swiftly implement the passage of ARCOA so that more competition can bring down rates towards consumers. Now, on the other end of the market, specifically for the demand side, I think there's also an issue of capacity building, especially when it comes to evaluating power supply agreements on the part of distribution utilities. Currently, distribution utilities lag in terms of evaluating power supply proposals in the long run. Currently, case in point is evaluating coal contracts. As we all know, coal and oil prices are very volatile because they are linked to global supply demand fluctuations brought by economic, social, and political factors which cut across countries. Distribution utilities fail to capture this since they still value coal prices, which are very cheap in the short term but costly for household consumers in the long run because coal is just a pass through cost to be paid by consumers. I think one solution to this is for distribution utilities to be given trainings, especially on financially evaluating these long term volatilities. This is for consumers to be protected from medium to long term electric bill shocks by these global fluctuations and to make RE more competitive here in the Philippines. For the second question, what am I passionate about? What are the things that you do to translate your passion to action? And how am I able to encourage people to support the things that I care about? First, I think I'm very passionate about youth involvement. For example, back in my last year in college, I spearheaded Ateneo Task Force 2016 or ATF 2016. ATF 2016 aimed at involving students and the youth in general to participate in the 2016 national elections through three fronts: voters registration, voters education, engagement, and poll watching. All of these phases were executed to make sure that the youth, which was a major voters group back in 2016, made informed decisions on the candidates. Post college, I continued on with youth engagement by joining volunteer organizations such as the 2030 Youth Force in the Philippines or 2030 YFP and the Youth for Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative or YSEALI. 2030 YFP is a youth organization also backed up by the United Nations Development Program to promote the advancement of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals in the Philippines. I helped in securing partners for TVUP, which is an online TV platform to showcase how SDGs are being carried out by youth organizations in the Philippines. I also volunteered for a YSEALI event called Coffee with the E-Community to discuss what youth organizations should know about the ASEAN and why it is important to know its impacts in the local scene. I am also passionate about RE, renewable energy. Every day, it has been my job to make sure that big consumers such as manufacturers, schools, buildings, and other consumers source their power from our portfolio of clean and renewable energy. through open access. I do this by explaining to them how competitive RE is in the long run by protecting them from global fluctuations, especially versus non-renewable sources such as coal, oil, diesel, and the like. I think I'm also passionate about fitness, especially since when I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes, I am passionate about running. I am passionate about circuit training, and because of this, I join fun runs. Actually, it's my first marathon in just a few days, in 4 days, and so I think these things, RE, fitness, and youth engagement, are the things I'm passionate about. Now, for the third question, what do you know regarding renewable energy? Do you think it is necessary to shift to RE? Why or why not? And will I personally invest time, money, energy to promote or post this given the chance? What I know about RE comes from my main work as a marketing analyst and regulatory analyst for First Gen. So currently, I am marketing the renewable energy portfolio of First Gen to big consumers to buy their electricity from our hydro geothermal plants through open access to enjoy cheaper rates and enjoy the non-VAT exemption for renewable energy. What I know about right now is that we're predominantly a coal-based country. Around 50% or almost half of the country's generation is still coming from coal sources, 22% coming from nat gas, 6% coming from oil, and currently our RE mix is around 23%. Now, what I know is that by 2030, the Philippines has a target to reach a renewable energy share of 35%. So currently, we're at 24%, and our target is at 35% by 2030. And currently, the DOE, ERC, and other energy institutions are doing this by promoting, for example, Renewable Portfolio Standards or RPS, which requires distribution utilities, other consumers, and other stakeholders to source their power from RE sources, just a certain percentage coming from their consumption from renewable energy sources so as to promote investment of RE here in the Philippines. I also know that there is an intention to build the renewable energy market to facilitate this entry of renewable portfolio standards. And I also know that renewable energy is free from VAT. That is why it is being appreciated by our consumers. And so I think there is a necessary need to shift to RE to make sure that the country is protected from global volatilities, especially that since most of our energy is sourced from coal sources, we are still vulnerable to shocks which happens across borders, across countries. And so I think there is economic value to that. Other than that, as a vulnerable country to natural disasters, I think there is also a responsibility to the environment to make sure that the communities where these generation plants are coming from, to make sure that the environmental costs are lessened by shifting to renewable energy. And given the chance, I promote RE every day. I'm promoting RE to make sure consumers buy from RE sources. Now, for the fourth question, do I consider myself as a leader? Why? And how am I, as a follower, do I work well with the team? Now, I think I consider myself as a leader, especially when it comes to viewing problems as opportunities to improve ourselves. Now, for example, whenever we engage customers, one pain point is our price offering from RE, since we are a little bit more expensive compared to non-renewable sources. Why are we expensive? Because we add a premium towards the risk that they are protected from global fluctuations. They are protected from fluctuations in the local market by sourcing from indigenous fuels here in the Philippines. As a solution to this price point, I always propose to stretch our resources. There was one time that I was able to create a blended proposal by having multiple power plants to supply a customer just to drive down costs. And usually, whenever we engage customers, we only offer one plan. But hey, I thought that one advantage of a Lopez company is that it has a big generation portfolio coming from diverse sources, geothermal, hydro, and I think there is a competitive advantage of blending these renewable sources to fit the operations of these companies. I also make sure that when we market not only the kilowatt hours of our company, but also the services we provide to improve our power delivery. Whenever we market as a team, I always make sure to throw questions rather than giving out solutions to solicit ideation processes from the team. And through that, I think I can be a leader by seeing problems, by seeing hurdles as opportunities, and by making sure that the team is always involved in the decision making to solicit feedback from them. As a follower, how am I as a follower? I always make sure to solicit feedback from team leaders to improve my performance. I always make sure that delegation is properly executed so that working as a team becomes more efficient. I believe I work well with teams since our work as a marketing analyst is not a solo performance job, but whenever we approach customers, it always has to be a team so that different perspectives, financial, economic, social, from the billing, accounting teams are taken into consideration whenever we are creating proposals. And we always make sure that we approach problems as a team. And last but not the least, why did I apply for Reboot? Can I commit to a 14-month capacity development program? What are the possible reasons that will hinder me from fully participating in the program? I think there are three main reasons why I applied for Reboot. First is that because of my work, because of the nature of my job as a marketing analyst, I market electricity. And what type of electricity do I market? I market renewable energy sources. And that's why as a marketing agent, as a sales agent, I need to love the product more. I need to know the product more in order for consumers, in order for partners to understand and appreciate more the service and product that we are offering to them. And through that, I want to gain that experience by knowing not only the economic but also social, political, and environmental factors that affect RE here in the Philippines. Second reason why I want to join Reboot is to create connections. In the long term, I plan to have a career in the energy industry. And so this is a good platform for me to build connections, not only in the marketing side of things, in marketing energy, but also in technical capabilities or other regulatory bodies, so that I have 360-degree view of making a dent in the industry, of contributing to this industry, energy industry here in the Philippines. And last but not the least, I want to join Reboot to execute a project, and I think that is one activity that we will accomplish in Reboot by building a small scale project that will help a community appreciate the energy scene here in the Philippines. And that I think will balance my macro view of energy by implementing a micro project for me to have a top down and bottom up approach to energy problems here in the Philippines. And I think my experience will also complement with that. Can I commit to a 14-month capacity development program? Yes, I can commit. Actually, I already secured the approval of my boss, and they are very amenable. They are very excited about the program. I just think that one of the reasons that will hinder me from fully participating in the program is my nature as a marketing agent, because I travel in the Philippines. I travel much here in Luzon. And I think that will be solved by knowing the schedule of Reboot 2 weeks before or 1 week before the program, so that I can schedule my customer visits whenever I market RE for First Jet. So those are the answers to the 5 questions in this application form. Thank you.